Our first trail on the list, honorable mention number 1, the West Higgins Stratford Trail. Here's the trailhead. We've got some hills here that go on for quite a while in this trail system. Nice vista view here on a ridge. Worthy of a stop and some photographs. And we even have a memorial, possibly even a grave. I haven't been able to confirm that, with a nice vista view for whoever this represents or is laying there. Welcome to Cedar Creek indeed. This trail system has a nice trailhead. If you do leave the trailhead from here and you go on to the south loop or the north loop, the trees are fairly close together. You could avoid it by going on the road. Nice elevated views of Cedar Creek itself. This is the south loop here that I'm on. And there's a nice scenic viewpoint here with a bench to sit down and relax. This is the north loop here, and this is another smaller creek going that we're going across here with a bridge. And now we're coming back across it after doing the north loop, or at least a portion of it. And this is a nice little wraparound, and it'll go back off to the right, showing another elevated view of that creek. St. Helen Motorsports area, a lot of everything for everybody. A climbing area here for various levels. We have the sand hills here with lots of paths to go up with varying degrees of difficulty. Some crossings are in the road where we have beaver dams and things that have flooded the roads. A nice pond area here that you can actually drive around the entire perimeter. And a sand play area here. And various levels of crossings with water. Plenty of water at St. Helen Motorsport area. The Frederick Trail system has a lot to offer. Several hills, mostly sand. In the play areas, though, the artificial scramble areas, there's several areas off the trail that are linked to the trail where you can kind of play a bit. This is a representation of the vegetation that kind of shields parts of the trail, so you have to be careful with oncoming traffic. Here's an example of one of those play area type situations. The camera doesn't do it justice when you're actually going up and down these things. These hills are quite substantial. Some nice open areas to see some things as a result of lumbering. But overall, a really good system. It's the two loops, the south and north loop, are compacted loops, but they offer a lot. So lots to see in the Frederick Trail system. Highly recommended. The Frederick Trail system begins to show you the hills and things, and now we're in Kalkaska, and it gets quite substantial here. In the winter, I would say it's treacherous, like what you're seeing here. In the drier seasons, I would just say it's probably on borderline dangerous. So you gotta know what you're doing, but you could take a tumble here real quick on some of these if you're not careful. So like, for example, this climb right here, it's hard enough to do when there's no snow, because you're not only climbing an elevation, you're having to turn. So you just got to kind of take your time and not overdo it there. But Kalkaska, this is in the North Loop. Great trail system, fun, and very, very beautiful area here. And that's why Kalkaska rates so high for me, is the elevation pieces to it. And there's plenty of flat trails here too, if you like that. And there's open areas, there's lumbered areas. And I haven't really even done the South Trail yet, the South Loop on this. So I did a portion of it, but didn't do the whole thing. So I'm anxious to do that in the next year. But yeah, the Kalkaska trail system, highly recommended. The Tomahawk Trail system near Indian River. This is elevation changes at its most difficult, because you're dealing with turns and tight squeezes and drop-offs like what you're seeing off to the right. That camera shot does not really show what's truly happening there, and the only thing that's going to stop you are the trees. Plenty of open areas to go on trails, and then there's these kinds of complicated turns on an elevation decline is what's happening here. It's fun though. You just have to be careful. And then you add the element of low light conditions, because this is getting towards the evening hours, and it just makes it that much more difficult. It's always nice to be up in the Indian River area. You've got Burt Lake, Mullet Lake, Crooked River, Indian River, the Sheboygan River. The Tomahawk Trail will not disappoint. One of the best trails in Michigan. And number one for a second year in a row on the channel is Drummond Island. Here we see Devil's Playground, and we're making that climb. This is technically a route, as this is, so any full-size vehicle or side-by-side or quad could go on these roads. We are going to break off into some strictly 50-inch trails only, and that's shown here next. These 50-inch trails there's water on them, there's some rock that you have to navigate through, and there are sometimes hills, not very tall hills, just things that have to be navigated, and they may have rocks like this. Lots of low water situations on Drummond Island. And you have things like this with Shale Beach, and we'll show an aerial view here. Just a absolutely magnificent area to see. And then the trail here, which is also a route, it goes right along the shoreline. Even full-size vehicles can go along here. And another beautiful area to see. And then right out of nowhere, as you're going down this route, there's a cabin that pops up here. Drummond Island never disappoints when you go there. Chances are you'll get stuck and have to break out the winch. There you have it, the top 5 list with 2 bonus honorable mentions for trails in the state of Michigan. Don't forget to check out my website. There's a nice tool out there for looking at trails. It's off to the right. I showed that in my previous 2 videos. It's off to the right side of the web page, and that's something that might help you. I want to thank you for stopping by the channel, watching this video, and until next week, take care.